Watch the number, not the man. The number is where the trick is hidden. He is 26, standing at a podium, holding up a jersey with his own name on the back, and on a screen the size of a wall glows the figure that has just changed his family's life forever. $250 million. His mother is in tears. The cameras fire like a storm, and for 90 seconds, he is everything a boy in America is raised to want. Now let that same tape run forward 4 years. He is 30, sitting in a folding chair in a concrete hallway, listening to a man explain that the team has decided to go in a different direction. He will not receive the $250 million, or half of it, or anything close. And the knee that made him rich will ache for the rest of his life, which is his problem now, and not theirs. Because the team's responsibility for him ended the moment that conversation did. Here is what should unsettle you. Nobody broke a rule, nobody cheated him. Everything you just watched is the arrangement working exactly as it was designed to. That is the quiet contradiction beneath America's most powerful sport. An industry that took in more than $23 billion last year, built on the bodies of men whose careers last, on average, about 3 seasons, and who sign contracts that alone among the major American leagues, almost no one is obligated to honor, which raises a few questions that ought to have simple answers, and don't. How can the richest league on the planet put $100 million on a screen and owe almost none of it? And what happens in that locker room before kickoff that can send a man who is already broken running back out through the tunnel as if nothing were wrong? But hold on to the largest question of all, the one that unlocks every other. Every player in that building already knows what you are about to learn. They know how the money works, what the game is doing to them, and what waits the day it stops. And still, almost none of them will say a word out loud. The reason for that silence is the most quietly ingenious thing this league has ever built, and I am saving it for the very end. This is why it sucks to be an NFL player. Let's begin. To understand how that is possible, stop watching the player and look at the contract. When a team announces a $100 million deal, that number is not, strictly speaking, a lie. It is a ceiling, the most the club could ever pay in a perfect world across the life of the deal. What matters is a second, much smaller number buried beneath it, the guaranteed money, the only portion the team is truly bound to pay no matter what. And across the league, that guaranteed portion has lately worked out to around 37 cents on the dollar. 37 cents on the dollar. So the $100 million contract is really a $37 million contract wearing a very expensive costume. Everything beyond that line is not a promise, but an option, and it is an option the team holds, never the player. If he keeps performing, they keep paying. If he slows or ages or gets hurt, they simply decline, and the rest of that famous number evaporates while the headline lives on forever. In baseball, this would be impossible because those contracts are guaranteed. In basketball, nearly all of them are. The NFL is the wealthiest league in the country and the only major one that does not, as a matter of routine, have to keep its own word. And when the players tried to change that, something revealing happened. One quarterback had just signed the first fully guaranteed deal of its kind, and the moment the next wave of stars asked for the same, every door quietly closed. So their union took the owners to arbitration, alleging collusion. The arbitrator's ruling ran 61 pages and found by a clear preponderance of the evidence that the league's own commissioner and its top lawyer had urged owners to hold down the guaranteed money in player contracts. And yet the league still won, because the arbitrator could not prove the owners had acted on that advice. But what the union did next tells you everything. Rather than fight, it signed a confidentiality agreement with the league to bury the finding. The players were told only that they had lost. They never saw the ruling that described what had been done across the table with their money. And when it surfaced anyway, the head of the union resigned. So look at the contract again. The number is not real, the leverage does not belong to the player, and even the one organization built to protect him helped hold the lid down. Once you understand that a man's contract is worth almost nothing the day he can no longer perform, everything that happens to his body next stops looking like recklessness and starts looking like a rational business decision. Because if a player's money only arrives while he is on the field, An injury is no longer a medical problem. It is a financial one. Miss 3 games and a younger, cheaper man is standing in his place. Miss a season, and there may be no next contract at all. So the real incentive is never to heal. It is only to be available. There is a way to guarantee that, and in NFL locker rooms it even has a nickname. They call it the T-Train. In the quiet before kickoff, players line up in the training room to be injected with a drug called Toradol, a powerful anti-inflammatory painkiller. And this is no last resort for a few desperate veterans. In one survey of team doctors, clubs reported an average of nearly 27 players taking a dose on game day. 27 men out of a 53-man roster. More than half the team every Sunday, chemically unable to feel what the next 3 hours are about to do to them. And that is the whole point. Toradol repairs nothing. It removes the signal. It reaches into the one-alarm evolution spent millions of years building, the warning that something inside you is tearing, and switches it off for an afternoon. A man can play a full half on a torn ligament and feel completely fine. The tearing still happens. He just does not get the message until Monday morning. And the bill when it comes is enormous. In one study of retired players, more than half admitted they had used prescription painkillers while still playing. And of those men, 7 in 10 said they had gone on to misuse them. Then there is the damage no injection can reach. When researchers at Boston University examined the brains of 376 former NFL players, they found the degenerative disease known as CTE in 345 of them. Now be careful with a number that large, because it is high for a reason. Families donate a brain when something has already gone wrong, so that sample was never random, which is why you cannot judge it alone. You have to hold it against a control. And in a comparable study of 164 brains from the general public, researchers found the same disease in one. So the body is spent slowly and deliberately over years, until one day it can no longer do the single thing it was ever paid to do. And that is the day the league is finished with him. For most players, that day comes fast. A career here lasts a little more than 3 seasons, and then a man barely into his 30s, carrying the joints of someone twice his age, is simply out. The spotlight moves on, the money stops, and he turns to the one place meant to catch him, the league's own disability plan. This is where the story turns dark. In a federal lawsuit, retired players have alleged that the plan's supposedly neutral doctors were paid as much as $1.5 million apiece, and that the more a doctor was paid, the less likely he became to find anyone disabled. Nearly 3 of every 5 of the plan's physicians, the players allege, denied 100% of the cases that ever reached them. One federal judge, ruling in a player's favor, wrote that behind the curtain lay a deliberate strategy, engineered to ensure that former players suffering from severe brain trauma were never awarded the benefits they were owed. An appeals court later overturned that judge. And of the many thousands of men who have applied over the years, only around 30 are receiving the top tier of those benefits today. So there, at last, is the full shape of it. A contract that is mostly a headline, a body spent past repair, and a legal fight still waiting at the finish line. By any rational measure, this is a catastrophic bargain for a man to accept. Which returns us to the single question that has mattered from the very beginning. Every one of these men already knows all of it. So why does not one of them say a word? The answer is not written down anywhere. There is no clause, no policy, no secret memo. It lives inside the arithmetic of the locker room, and in its own cold way, it is the most ingenious thing this league has ever built. Begin with a number almost no one stops to calculate. 32 teams, 53 men on each active roster, which comes to 1,696 jobs on the entire planet. And every spring, another 250 fresh candidates are drafted in behind them, everyone younger and cheaper and healthier than the men already in the room. Now imagine standing there. Your contract is not guaranteed. The average career, by the union's own count, lasts around 3.5 years. And everything you have, the house, your family's future, the identity you have built since you were 8 years old, depends on one thing: earning the next contract. So ask what happens if you speak up. If you refuse the injection or tell a reporter the medical staff pushed you back too soon, nothing happens to the team, something happens to you. You are not suspended or fined, you are simply given a word. Soft perhaps, or unreliable, or distraction. And that word travels without a sound to all 32 buildings at once, because the people who run them all talk to one another. No one has to blacklist you, they simply stop returning the call. And that is the trap in all its elegance. The league never has to buy anyone's silence, because it has built a world in which silence is the only rational choice. To complain costs you everything. To stay quiet costs you only your knees, your shoulders, and perhaps in time your mind. And every one of those invoices comes due long after you have left the building, when you are no longer anyone's concern. So the players protect the league that is consuming them, not out of loyalty, out of arithmetic. Which brings us back one last time to that stage. The confetti, the jersey, the $250 million glowing on the wall. Because that number was never meant for him. He already knows what he is guaranteed. It is a recruiting poster, meant for the 12-year-old watching from his living room floor, who will spend the next 15 years handing over his body for the chance to stand where that man is standing. And it is meant for you, so that when you watch a player go down and clutch at his knee, some quiet part of you thinks that for that kind of money, surely he can get back up. And there finally is the whole trade. The league pays its men in a number that isn't real and is paid back in bodies that are. The contract is the medal, and the line of young men waiting to sign one never grows any shorter. So the next time you watch a man wave off the medical cart and jog back into the huddle while 80,000 people roar at how tough he is, try to see both things at once. The courage, which is real, and the reason beneath it, which is a contract that is not. Now that you know what that number is actually made of, the question I will leave you with is simple. Would you still take the deal? Would you let your own son take it? Tell me in the comments. And if this changed the way you see the game, take a second to like and subscribe, because next time we pry open another corner of the sports machine that would much rather stay shut.